Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar called Exploratory Testing for Atlassian JIRA. I'm Jessica Chow, Digital Marketing Specialist here at Tricentis, and I will be hosting today's webinar. Our webinars give us the opportunity to share what's important to us, continuous testing, software test automation, and how Tricentis can help your organization accelerate through the DevOps cycle. Today's webinar is about how you can plan, monitor, execute, and measure exploratory testing in Atlassian JIRA. Today, we are pleased to have Ingo Philipp, Product Manager here at Tricentis. Before we jump into the webinar, I would like to invite you to please feel free and submit any questions you may have. There will be a question and answer period following the webinar. Please note that all attendees will be muted, so be sure to submit your questions into the question panel. We love your participation and are looking forward to answering your questions during the Q&A period. I would also like to mention that we do have a short exit survey at the end of the webinar, so make sure you answer it and let us know how we can improve our webinar series. With that, I'll pass it over to Ingo. Welcome, Ingo.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and many thanks to all the listeners out there for joining. I'm just feeling really happy to welcome all of you to today's webinar. Well, as already mentioned by Jessica, today's session is all about exploratory testing for JIRA, our brand new add-on for JIRA, now available for download on the Atlassian marketplace. So I've divided this session into three parts. In part number A, I would like to at least briefly talk about the concepts of exploratory testing to create a shared understanding so that we all speak the same language throughout the entire webinar, that we are all on the same page. In part number B, I would like you to see our add-on in action. So here I would like to give you a live demonstration of exploratory testing for JIRA. And as always, part number C will be all about the Q&A. So that's the master plan. I hope that's fine for you guys. Now then, first things first, exploratory testing. What the heck does it even mean? Well, guys, in my early days as a tester, as a plain manual tester, I was once asked by one of my test managers to figure out what exploratory testing really means at its core. But already right at the beginning of my journey, I was totally lost. I simply didn't understand it. In the same way, I don't understand why we press harder on the remote when the batteries are dead, or why the heck the dentist talks to you when you aren't able to respond. Well, guys, this is still a mystery to me. The bottom line here is that at this point in time, exploratory testing was something totally incomprehensible to me. I've then tried to escape from this dilemma. I've started talking to people. I've met people treating exploratory testing and manual testing as one and the same thing. And no, guys, a Bitcoin and a Super Mario coin are not the same thing. So I quickly realized that exploratory testing is a thing most people pretend to understand, but really don't. Well, I have met people treating exploratory testing like a religion, like a philosophy, or like modern art. And as we all know, modern art is a disaster area. Never in the field of human history, so much has been used by so many to say so little. And all this just said one thing to me. Exploratory testing is like teenage sex, because everyone talks about it, but nobody really seems to understand what it is and how to do it. And because of the fact that everyone talks about it, everyone thinks that everyone else is doing it. And the result of this, everyone claims they're doing it. So what is it? Well, now imagine you would be able to arrange all of your testing approaches on a one-dimensional line. Let's call it the testing continuum, ranging from informal to formal approaches to testing. By formal testing, I just mean testing completely specified, such as test automation or manual testing. By informal testing, I just mean testing completely unspecified. Do we have a name for that? Sure, we have. It's called ad hoc testing or freestyle testing. And somewhere in between, there is exploratory testing. And this makes it so hard to grasp, since it can come in so many different flavors to us. It can be expressed in so many different ways. The one we go for in our add-on for JIRA is called session-based exploratory testing. for the simple reason that it makes exploratory testing structured and so applicable for large-scale implementations, especially when multiple agile teams are around in your organization. Now then, defining exploratory testing on its own is a tough job. So let's compare it to formal testing. Well, formal testing is a very mechanical approach to testing, especially when it comes to test automation. Because automation is just doing what automation does. It just processes a certain set of pre-designed test data through your application in a certain sequence of pre-designed test steps. That's all automation is doing. On the other side of that fence, exploratory testing is more like an intelligent approach to testing. So here it is all about learning the product, designing tests, executing tests, and interpreting the test results all at the same time. So you do all of this simultaneously. And in doing so, your next test is always influenced by the results of your last one. And that's the reason why we call it exploratory testing. Now, this in turn says that the purpose of formal testing is to monitor known risks. So here just confirm what you already know, whereas the purpose of exploratory testing is to analyze potential risks. So here you should rather focus on things you don't know. You should focus on illusions you're holding true without any empirical evidence. Now, this implies that any exploratory test has a high information value associated to it, because we learned something new about the application. That's not the case with formal testing. And now you might say, well, that's easy. So let's prioritize all of our tests according to their information values. Well, that's one way you could do it, but it's not the only one. Don't miss the risk coverage. And without a shadow of doubt, you won't be able to achieve comprehensible risk coverage just by doing exploratory testing. That is what you can achieve with formal tests. Now, the bottom line here is that formal tests are kind of like change detectors. Why is that? Well, you add some new functionality on top of your big fat software product, and you want to know if that has some bad impact on your already existing functionality. If so, then just run your automated regression. On the other side, exploratory tests are more like problem detectors. And as James Bach quite plainly stated, here it is all about exploring the unknown, the invisible, to avoid the unthinkable happening to the luminous. And now you might say, well, but at the end of the day, it's just about spotting problems. And you are absolutely right. And for that reason, the purpose of testing a program is to find problems in it. The only difference between those two approaches is that they approach those problems from different perspectives. And so it's not about the one or the other, it's about both at the same time. And this is the reason why we regard something as properly tested when it is being checked by efficient formal test automation based on a solid test case design, and when it is checked by the richness of intellect of human beings. And this is at least our agile equation of motion in all of our projects, and the reason why we pay so much attention to exploratory testing here at Tricentis. Now, having said all that, let me now show you how we translate the idea of session-based exploratory testing into reality with our add-on for JIRA. Before I'll switch to the demonstration, let me first show you what our add-on can do for you from the bird's eye perspective. So first, exploratory testing must not be directionless. And so also our add-on allows you to start with your crystal clear test objectives. These test objectives are called charter issues in our add-on. Those charter issues are proper issues in JIRA. They can be bugs, user stories, feature requests, epics, tasks. They can be any issue of any custom issue type. And so you can make use of those charter issues to define the scope and of parts of your goals of your exploratory testing sessions. So in plain terms, this means that you can create one or more exploratory testing sessions to test against those charter issues. You can also invite one or more exploratory testers to those sessions. Those testers will then document their test ideas in units of so-called exploratory scenarios. And hopefully those guys will also raise some product issues. We call those product issues raised issues in our add-on, for example, bugs. And those raised issues then link back to the scenarios, the testers, the sessions, and finally they link back to the charter issues to close the testing lifecycle. Now that's, in a nutshell, what exploratory testing for JIRA can do for you. And now let's see how it looks like in action. In order to show you that, let's switch to JIRA in my browser. And I've already installed our add-on in the same way you install any other add-on out there. You're just a single click away from happiness, guys. So after you have properly installed our add-on, and hopefully you've purchased it, you will see an entry in the main navigation menu in JIRA. It's called Exploratory Sessions. So first, let me show you how you can search, filter, and sort your sessions in JIRA. Just navigate to the Browse Session page. On that page, we list all the sessions you have created so far for a certain project. The project in that case is called Vehicle Insurance App. In that table, we show a session. So each and every row in the table represents an exploratory testing session. On the level of each session, we show the unique ID of the session, we show the name of a session, we also show the time box of a session, that means the start and end time, in case you provided one. We also show the session owner information, that means the person who has organized that testing session. We, for example, also show how many testers have been invited to that session, the overall session status, the number of scenarios created in that session, and we also visually display the results of all scenarios created by all those testers in that session on that page. Of course, you are also able to include or exclude other columns, such as the creation date of a certain session, for example, or the overall size of that session, because you create screenshots and videos to document your test ideas. So you can easily include and exclude all those properties. Furthermore, you're also able to apply what we call quick filters. For example, this one here, My Planned Sessions. Just click on it and you will see all the sessions you have planned. By the way, I'm logged in as the user Emerald Co in this JIRA instance. We also have another one like My Joined Session. This lists all the sessions where you joined as a tester. And of course, you can also combine those quick filters. And just by default, we exclude all those closed sessions. Furthermore, we also do have a fuzzy search on that page where I can easily search for example, the session name. Just start typing and the search automatically refreshes your page. Now that is how the Browse Sessions page in our add-on looks like. In order to create such a session, you just need to click on the Create Session button. Let me show you that in a minute. So before I'll do that, let's first start with the end in mind. Let's have a look on a session. Let's go to the Supermodel tour. Just click on that link and you will be redirected to what we call the Sessions page. So here we do have a session. It's called the Supermodel tour. This is the name of the session. Of course, you can always change the name in the same way you can change the name of an issue in JIRA. In that pane, we show all the testers who have been added and also invited to that session. So we show the tester name. We show also the results and the status of that session just with a single icon here. We show the invitation state. That means have you already invited the tester or not? And those three dots on every object in our add-on just give you more opportunities to apply some task on the level of those objects. Now you can change the session owner just by moving down to the session owner field. Just click into the field. You can then start typing and searching for a session owner. You select the session owner, accept the change, and the session owner has been changed. You can also change the session time box over here. Just click on that field and we provide you with a dialog where you can set the start and the end time of a certain session. You just need to click on update and the time box is being updated. In the table above, we show the session charter. So that means that you can provide a crystal clear testing mission to all of the testers you have added to that session. just click into that field and start writing your testing mission, you have all the formatting capabilities you need to have in order to do that properly. Furthermore, we allow you to also add attachments to your sessions. Just drag and drop files into the pane, and those files will be attached to the session in order to provide more guidance to your sessions. So that can be, for example, requirements documentations, design documentations, or some mock-ups for your user interface proposals, for example. You can easily download them all just by clicking on the download all button, or you say, well, you want to attach a file, you just click on it, we open the Windows Explorer, you select a file and then open it. In the same way you can attach a file to an issue in JIRA. The third dimension of that table is what we call the charter issues. That means here are your test objectives, all the issues you want to test against in your sessions. Imagine these are all the user stories in your current sprint. So on the level of each charter issue, you are also able to assign testers to test against those charter issues. So you can easily say, well, you just want to have John, Mark, Fred, and Peter testing against this charter issue in that session. So you can easily assign or unassign those testers to these charter issues, just with this mighty dialog here. The other two columns are as follows. So the second column just displays how many issues you have raised while you were testing against those chart issues. Let's think of bugs. So this number could mean, well, I have raised 2 bugs while I was testing this chart issue called highlight mandatory fields. And the third column shows how many scenarios you have created to document while you were testing against this chart issue. And of course, we also visually display all the results. That means all the results of all the scenarios which have been created and linked to that chart issue. In order to add a new chart issue, just click on Add Chart Issue. We open a dialog. You just click into that field. You can also start typing something in, select the chart issue, and then add it to your session in the same way you can see it here. Per default, the chart issue is being assigned to all testers. You just uncheck that and you can say, well, I just want to have Mark and Freda testing against this chart issue, or they want to retest that bug in that example because they are specialists for that. Now, in the last section, we also show all the issues which have been raised by all those testers in that particular session. So on the level of each and every issue, we show who has raised that issue. So for example, Freda has raised this one. And we also display how many charter issues have been linked to that raised issues. And of course, how many scenarios you have created to document that bug, for example, properly. Now that's it on the session level. And now let's see how the tester looks like. You could also say, well, I want to have now a closer look, for example, what Emerald has done. Just click on Emerald and you will be redirected to what we call the testers page. So that's Emerald Co. in the Supermodel Tour. On the left-hand side, we also show all the scenarios Emerald has created in the course of his testing. Next to the name of the scenario, we also show the result. So a scenario can either be failed or passed. And as always, those 3 dots allow you to, for example, continue a scenario, to raise an issue for that scenario, to export the results and import it into Tricentis Tosca. By the way, here we are compatible to Tricentis Tosca in version 10.2, or you just say, well, I want to delete that scenario. In the same way as on the session level, you could also write a tester charter to provide additional instructions for the tester. You have the same formatting capabilities as you have it to write the session charter. You could also say, well, I just want to attach some files for that tester, so only the tester sees those attachments. And only the tester in the charter issues section sees only the charter issues which have been assigned to him. So you could think of this page like that's the universe of a tester. That's what the tester is really interested in. And of course, in the raised issues section, the tester only sees those issues he has raised in that session. And finally, we also provide a summary field. That means a text box where you can easily write your test summary when you do the debriefing with your session owner. So that is how the testers page looks like. And now let me briefly show you how we support the user to create those scenarios. So let me create a scenario. In order to do that, all you need to do is to start testing. That means click on the Start Testing button. Once you do that, we launch our mighty testing agent. And this testing agent just supports you in documenting all your test ideas. So here you have two entry channels. First, you could say, well, you want to read the chart again. Just click on that field. Then we open the chart issues pane, and you can see all the information the session owner has transferred to you. You can easily say, well, you want to print your charter, or you want to save it as a PDF. But now let's see how we start testing. So in order to do that, let's click on the Start Testing button. Once you do that, you can then select the chart issues you want to now test against. You could say, well, I want to now test this chart issue here, provide premium insurance price option. So let's do that. Let's click on Test. When you do that, we automatically go into what we call the record interactions mode, which simply means that all your interactions with your desktop, with any application on the Windows platforms, are now being recorded fully automatically, so that you can now really focus on your actual testing and not waste 80% of the time with laborious manual documentation. So now let's do something meaningful. Let's go to our demo application. First, let's open the Windows Explorer, which automatically redirects you to our web-based application, our demo application. Let's say we want to create a quote for an automobile insurance. So we click on the automobile link. We just provide some data for, let's say, the make of the automobile. Let's select Mercedes-Benz, because everybody wants to have it, right? We provide some engine performance here. We select a date for the date of manufacture, some number of fields, some fuel type. We add some list price, some license plate number, some annual mileage. And in the meantime, everything, what you have now done, has been recorded fully automatically. Now imagine you found a bug on that page somewhere, right? So you wanna document the bug. So in order to do that, you just go back to this recording control and say, well, you want to stop your exploration. You click on stop. What we then do is we go back to our testing agent, and here you then see all the interactions you have carried out so far while your exploration. So for each interaction, we show which application you have interacted with. So for example, this icon shows you have interacted with the taskbar, and we also highlight the type of the interactions. For example, here you clicked on the Internet Explorer button, and the screenshot to the right-hand side of that pane shows you, the corresponding screenshot to that action, which is, by the way, annotated. You see here, well, I've clicked on the Internet Explorer button. With those two buttons, you can navigate through your test actions. You can jump to the next step. You can jump, and so you can see all the test actions you have carried out so far. Furthermore, we also highlight all the controls you have interacted with, and we annotate those controls. So you can just remove them, you can move them around, you can also change the color, for example, like I want to have it now in, I don't know, this weird green here. And by the way, we also fetch the information you type into those fields. Like this one, you type 1, 2, 3 in the engine performance edit box. You can also add other annotations, like you can add a text box here, right, to further describe what you have found. Well, green is basically not a really good color for that, so let's change it like this. You can, of course, always change the font size and the font type easily like this. You can also add a blur annotation. That means you just want to hide some, let's say, sensitive data from your screenshot, right? You don't want to show them to all of them. Or you say, well, I want to highlight other fields, like I want to highlight the whole pane here. Just easily add that rectangle annotation and you are ready to go. In the same way, you can add ellipses, lines, arrows, and so on and so forth. And in that way, you can easily document all the test actions you have created so far. Of course, all the text is just a suggestion, so you can easily modify the text. You can also move on and say you want to provide some manual actions. In order to do that, just click on a certain step, so that object is called a step, and add other actions, like that's the step number 2 I did, right? For example. So we do it automatically for you, but you can always interfere manually. And in all of those steps, you can also set the results. You could say, well, this step, for example, has passed, but all the others have been passed. So here you can easily set the results in your test documentation. Now, next to those automatic test documentation recording, we also allow you to, record a video, right? Because if you want to, let's say, capture some visual effects on your screen, just click on record video. We just ask you for the recording options. That means, do you want to select a certain area or a certain window or sub-window application, the primary, the secondary screen, including or excluding the taskbar, or to say, well, I just want to record the whole desktop. I will select just the primary screen and just click on record. Now, everything what you now do is being automatically recorded with a video. So now you can do again your stuff. You can focus on exploration. You again, let's say, open our demo application, provide, let's say, your first and your last name, and then imagine you found a bug. So you can then again just stop your recording. When you do so, we open what we call the video editor, and we automatically play the video, as you can see on the timeline. So in the first few seconds of that video, not much happened. Now I'm moving on and doing the stuff I've done so far. You can, of course, always pause the video, and the cool thing here is you can also annotate the video. You could say, well, there's something going wrong with that field, so I want to highlight it. I want to add some text, for example, to it. You have all those annotation capabilities you have for the screenshots. Now you can also add multiple annotations. So you can say, well, at this frame in my video, I want to highlight that box here. And so this allows you to easily navigate between all those annotations just by these 2 buttons. Furthermore, you can easily trim a video. You could say, well, in the first few seconds, nothing happened, so you want to exclude the gray highlighted area of that video. You just say, well, I want to trim the video. The video is being trimmed. You save the video, and then you will get back to the scenario manager. And here on that level of the step, we show, well, you have captured a video for that specific step. You then can just click on the play button to open the video to continue your video recording. And of course, you can add multiple so-called media files to a certain test action, which can be multiple screenshots plus a video, for example. Now, that is how we support you in documenting your test. Now, imagine you want to share your results. You want to share it immediately. So let's say, well, we want to keep all those screenshots we have created, and I want to now, let's say, export all the documentation I've created so far immediately with my developer. So what you can do is, well, say, well, export my scenario documentation. We provide a bunch of options you can select from here. You can also have a print preview. So here we then generate automatically your scenario documentation, and here we go. So in a scenario documentation, you will have 5 sections. First is the summary, the scenario description, screenshots, system information, and recorded applications. It's an interactive document, so everywhere are links to navigate through this document. So just click on the summary page. You will be redirected to the summary page. Here we just list when was this scenario created, who is created that scenario, what's the name of this scenario, what's the overall result, the number of failed steps. You can easily jump to the failed step right from the document, and a few other informations like the number of steps, actions, and screenshots and videos you have attached to it. So that's the summary page. Then we have another page which is called scenario description. So when you click on this part, you will be redirected to the scenarios description section. And this is just a table which shows you all the interactions you've carried out so far. So here those gray rows show the test steps. That means, let's say, the applications you've interacted with, and the white ones means the type of the interaction. And in that way, you will see just within a table all the interactions you have carried out with your applications. You can also easily jump to the corresponding screenshot, like in this one here. I have typed some value in the annual mileage edit box, so I want to see if that really happened. So I click on the screenshot icon. I will be redirected to the screenshot section of the document, and this shows me exactly the interaction I've carried out so far. I can easily jump back with this button here to the scenario description. That's pretty cool. So these are the two sections, scenario description and screenshots. In the last two sections, we provide some information about the environment, like the system information. That means your operating system, the version, the system models, the screen resolutions you have used throughout your testing, and a few information about, let's say, the memory, the BIOS version, and all the information which might be relevant for a developer to fix a bug. In the last section, we also list the applications you have interacted with. And we don't just provide the name of the applications, we also provide the versions. And in that way, you could easily say, well, you want to export that, you want to save it as a PDF, you just select your destination folder, like here in the desktop, you click on save, then we generate the document. So that's done in about 10 seconds when you have, I don't know, 10,000 screenshots or something like that. It's pretty damn fast. We also include the videos. We just encode it, which just means we make it able to play back it for you then on in any of your Windows Media Player, for example. And here then have the scenario documentation as a PDF. Just open the PDF, and you have all the links are still alive, so you can easily jump to the scenario description. You can navigate to the screenshots I've shown you before. So all the navigation is still alive, and that is what you can easily share, just like this. Now let me close all those windows, and let me show you how you can share all those results. That means upload your results to JIRA. So now imagine you are done with all this, and you want to now save your scenario. Just click on the Save and Close button, and you will be redirected to our testing agent. And here in the Captured Scenario section, we show you all the scenarios you have created so far, including the results and the links to your chart issues. Just click on the link. You can always amend those links in the way you can see here. Just click on save, and that scenario is linked to another chart issue. Of course, you can always start testing or creating a new scenario. You can always continue this scenario, or you just delete it. Now let's share those results. All we need to do is we need to say, well, we want to stop our exploration. We want to complete our testing. Now, once we do that, all the results are being uploaded to JIRA. We again encode the videos and freeze all the annotations in those screenshots. The results are being uploaded. All you need to do is click on exit. You will then be redirected to JIRA in your browser and automatically to your testers page, like here to Emerald Co in the Supermodel tour. And here you go. Here you see the scenario you have created so far. And now let's see how we display those scenarios in JIRA, because that's not the end of the story. So let's go to this one here, create automobile insurance quote. This is how we represent the scenario. You can always change the name in the same way you can change the name for any issue in JIRA. So this just says that's a scenario called Create Automobile Insurance, created by Emerald Co in the Supermodel tool. That's, by the way, a breadcrumb navigation. You can always get back to the tester or to the session in order to quickly navigate through your session. On the level of a scenario, we display a few details about the scenario. For example, when was the scenario created? When was it last updated? What is the corresponding project, the corresponding session, the overall results, attached screenshots, videos, and attachments. We also display who is the corresponding session owner, the tester, and who has updated that scenario the last time. And here you can see we also display the system information and the recorded applications as you've already seen it before in the scenario documentation. Now, beneath the details, we also show to which issues you have linked these scenarios. Let's say you have created this scenario to test against those 3 chart issues. You can always adjust those links just by click on link chart issues. When you do so, you select the chart issue you want to link this scenario again. I don't want to do that now, but in that way you can link it to any other charter issue out there, which is part of your testing session, of course. In that section, we also show how many issues you have raised. Let's say you have created those scenarios to document all those 5 bugs, for example, right? You can always move on and say, well, I want to raise a new issue for that scenario, or you want to link an already existing issue to that scenario. And the cool thing is you can also easily play back a scenario. So in order to see what a tester has done, you just need to click on the playback button. Then we open a dialog, and then you can navigate through each and every step the tester has carried out through his exploration. You can also easily go to full screen mode. So just go to that icon here to maximize the window. You are in full screen mode, and with those buttons or with the corresponding shortcuts, you can then navigate through each and every step the tester has carried out. You can also navigate to the next failed step. Just by clicking on the button, you will then redirect it to the step which has been failed. And you can see we also display all the annotations you have added to your screenshots. So the title of that window is the title of your scenario. Here we display the name of your step, and below that we display the action you have carried out. And it's not just about the screenshots. We also display or play back the videos in that pane, because as you have seen, you can also create videos to document your testing, and that is what you can easily play back. So that's a really cool thing to figure out quite fast what the tester actually did. And it gives you a very detailed test documentation. Now, in order to escape from the full screen mode, you just need to press escape. And once again, in order to go back to your scenario view. Now, and last, let me also show you how we display the information of a session to all those issues. Now let's navigate to one of them. Let's navigate to this one here. Annual mileage field is mandatory. So that's a bug you have raised, for example. Now, just I will open now this issue in another tab. So let's navigate to the tab. Now, on the level of every issue in JIRA, we add a section called Exploratory Sessions. And in that case, this issue is a bug which was raised in a certain session, and this is displayed here. So this means that the issue called annual mileage field mandatory was raised in the supermodel tool, and the supermodel tool is still in progress. So you can also expand the session and see all the charter issues which are linked to that specific raised issue, and you can always go back to the scenario to see what actually happened. And that is what a developer, for example, sees. Now that could be, for example, a bug which is in the current sprint backlog. And now the developer would immediately see, well, there is something went wrong. And there is a scenario which have been created to document the bug. So all that the developer needs to do, it needs to click on the scenario link, go to playback, and he's able to play back the scenario. Now that's it. That's all I wanted to transfer to you. I hope you enjoyed the session. I'm now handing back to Jessica to open the Q&A. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for that presentation, Ingo. The exploratory testing for Atlassian JIRA looks really fresh and snappy. So we just have a few questions coming in from our audience. Feel free to keep sending them in. We'll answer as many as we have time for. So the first question we have here is, how do you disable the add-on for certain projects?
That's a good one. Let me immediately show you that. So in order to configure the add-on, you just need to go to the Exploratory Sessions tab and then click on the Configure Add-on item. So of course you just see that when you are logged in as a JIRA administrator. So once you do that, you will be redirected to the administration section in JIRA, where you can manage all your add-ons. And here under exploratory testing, you find all the sections for our add-on. Now, in order to disable now our add-on for certain projects, you just need to go to permissions. And here we provide the permissions on user level or user group level, and also we allow project permissions. So here you could say, well, I want to hide the add-on from certain projects. In order to do that, yeah, you just click on that field, select one or more of your projects, and you won't see all the UI elements of our add-on in those projects. So for example, when a project is just for your HR department or for marketing department, they don't need to have all those testing add-ons. So they are freed from that when you do that. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Ingo. Do you think that you can answer the second one? I'm sure you can. Can everybody do everything? For example, delete sessions?
So yes, by default, we allow everybody to do everything, but you can, of course, constrain the permissions. And here we just are already at the right page, so that is what you do with the user group permissions. So here you could say, well, you just want to grant certain user groups, like let's say JIRA administrators in that case, to delete objects. That means to delete sessions, scenarios, or even testers. In the same way, you could assign permissions to certain user groups to allow them to delete media files, to update all of our objects, or to even view them. So these are, yeah, the user group permissions you can use to constrain how your add-on is being used by certain users. Hope that answers your questions again.
Thanks, Ingo. The next question I feel like is kind of a follow-up question. Is the session owner notified when changes are made to his session?
So yes, you can also manage the notifications. So in order to do that, you just need to go to the notifications section here in the administration section of JIRA. And here you can turn on and turn off email notifications. So that's the master switch. You can also turn off and turn on email notifications for certain events. Like, for example, when somebody adds a tester to your session, when somebody rejects an invitation, or when somebody adds a charter issue or deletes a charter issue, and so on and so forth. So in all of those events, the session owner and so also sometimes the tester is being notified by email when such a change happens. That's it.
That seems really handy, actually. So the next question I have here is, which JIRA versions are supported?
So we support JIRA versions from 7.0 on, which now includes the latest one is 7.4. It was just released, I think, last week or so. And I mean, I can show you that how you can find our add-on. Let me. All you need to do basically is you need to go to the Atlassian marketplace. So let's just Google for that. Let me show you how you see that. So here you go, Atlassian marketplace. Then you will be redirected to that Atlassian marketplace. All you need to do is to search for exploratory testing. Now just apply the search, then you will see our add-on right over here. It's exploratory testing for JIRA. Click on that icon and you will be redirected to the marketplace listing of our add-on. And here you can see which versions are supported, like here for JIRA Server 7.0 until 7.4. And here you find all the details about our add-on. You can also write a review. You also see the pricing, how the add-on is being supported, the different versions which are already out there, and information how you install our add-on. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, that's very extensive. Thank you. So the next question is, how is the add-on supported?
Mm-hmm. So in order to see that, I mean, there is a tab, the support tab. So here it already lists how our add-on is supported. So our add-on is supported via documentation and via our support portal here at Tricentis. So what you can do, you can easily navigate to the documentation. Just click on the link, open it in a new tab, and you will be redirected to the Tricentis support portal. And here you see all the support options available for you. That means you can say, well, you want to read the documentation. Here it's just the user guide or the admin guide. You can also browse our frequently asked questions. You can raise an incident, so get in touch with our support guys. And you can also read and write knowledge base articles on our support portal. So that is how our add-on is being supported.
Perfect. So the next question is, does the agent work on Linux, Unix, and or on other mobile devices?
So at the moment, the agent works just on Windows platforms, and there are no concrete plans to go for Linux or Unix, but we are currently working on a mobile solution. So that's all I can say so far.
That sounds exciting.
It is indeed.
So the next question is, does the add-on also work for JIRA Cloud instances?
That's a good question. I fully missed it, so thanks for answering that. No, it works for JIRA Server. That is also what you can see here on that Atlassian Marketplace. So the add-on is not available for JIRA Cloud add-ons, just for JIRA Server at the moment.
Perfect. We have a question about Tricentis Tosca. How to integrate results into Tricentis Tosca?
So let me go back to the add-on and show you that live. So you can export results on the level of a single scenario. You can export results of a certain tester, including all the scenarios created of a certain tester, or you can export the results of an entire session. That means all the scenarios created by all those testers in a certain session. Now, in order to do that, you just, let's go here on the scenario page, you click on More Actions. You can say, well, you want to export your results. We just ask you a couple of questions, what you want to have to be exported, like all the media data, like the screenshots and videos and the attachments. Then you just say, yeah, I want to export them, click on Export. We export that in a so-called TXR file, and that file is what you can then use in order to import it into Tricentis Tosca, again with a single action. That is what you can do on the level of a scenario. You could also go to a certain tester, like to Emerald, and say, well, I want to export all the results created by Emerald during his exploration, or you go to the session, to the supermodel tool, in case, I hope you can see that, and you can say, well, let me export my results. So that is how you find the link between our add-on to JIRA and Tricentis Tosca, in order to then start your test automation journey. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So Ingo, one of the participants is actually asking if there's a trial available. Maybe you can just walk them through how to access that.
Sure, there's a trial available. So in order to get to that, all you need to do is, again, go to the Atlassian Marketplace. And I think nobody will miss the Try It Free button over here. So you just click on Try It Free. You can then download our add-on and install it in your JIRA instance. So the trial is for 30 days, and you can always renew the trial multiple times. These are the same conditions for any other add-on out there. So please feel free to make use of it.
Great. So this is a question that I'm sure you get a lot. So I wanted to pick this out. How to avoid that testers raise one and the same issue in the same session?
Mm-hmm. So that's a good point. So we can't really avoid that, to be honest. But what we do in our projects is let's go to a certain tester to show you that. Let's say Emerald, right? Emerald has already raised a few issues here, and that is what Emerald sees. Now, when Emerald, in that case, is already back in JIRA and you want to raise a new issue, he can always go back to the session and see, well, what are the issues already raised in that session? And usually you see just because of the title if an issue has already been raised. And in that case, he can also say, well, I want to link my scenarios to issues other testers have been raised. You know, imagine the following example. Jessica and myself are part of the session. Jessica raises a bug, for example, in Tricentis Tosca, and she also created a scenario to document that. And let's imagine I'll find the same bug, but I'll find another way. That means another scenario how to get to that bug. So I can just link my scenario then to Jessica. But conceptually, you just need to first have a look at all the issues which have been raised on session level to make sure that you don't create duplicates. That's all I can say.
It's a really great way to avoid redundancies. So I think we're going to take a few more questions, but make sure that you keep sending in some questions into the question panel. The next one is the add-on compatible with JIRA Service Desk?
Yes, indeed it is. Again, that is what you can see on the marketplace listing. So once again, back on the Atlassian marketplace, you see here that our add-on again is supported. It's also compatible with JIRA Service Desk. Actually, it's compatible with all flavors of JIRA. So in rough terms, JIRA comes in 3 flavors: JIRA Core, JIRA Software, and JIRA Service Desk. It's compatible with all those 3 flavors. And furthermore, that is what I've missed to mention, it's also compatible with JIRA Data Center. For those of you who don't know what that is, just a clustered solution of a JIRA instance. So yes, it is compatible to JIRA Service Desk.
Great. The next question is, can issues also be raised in the agent?
That's a good one. Not at the moment, but this is what we are currently working on. So I hope you can then, we will be able to ship that in the next few weeks already. So it will be possible to do that. Yes.
Thank you. So we're only going to take a couple more questions because I see that we're running out of time. The next one I feel is a follow-up question to the last one. Are admin rights required to install the testing agents?
No, there are no admin rights required. So the testing agent is being installed in your local user profile. It's a proper installation, but does not require any admin rights. And also all those screenshots and videos are temporarily stored in your local profile and then being uploaded to the JIRA server once you say complete my testing session in the agent. So no admin rights required here.
Thank you, Ingo. And our last question for this webinar is, does the user need to authenticate in order to join a session?
Yes, sure, you need to authenticate, but this is automatically done when you, for example, start testing here on the level of a session or on the level of a tester. So let me show you that. Like when you start testing, we do the authentication automatically because we already know that you are a logged in user, and then we can start the session manager like this. Nevertheless, you can also start the agent locally. When you pause the session, you just go to your Windows, Exploratory Testing Agent, you start your session, and here you then need to provide your credentials like this one. I hope these are the right ones. You could also say, well, remember me, and log in, and then we log in to the session you have paused. So yes, authentication is of course required to be on the safe side at the end of the day. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Ingo. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Those of you that have asked questions, we will be sure to follow up with you personally. Thank you so much for participating, and please feel free to reach out and continue the conversation online by following us on either Twitter or LinkedIn. You can also reach us through our website at www.tricentis.com. Thank you again for joining our webinar, and please be sure to fill out our survey, which will be popping up once the webinar has ended. A recording of this webinar, as well as past webinars, will be available on our website. Thanks again, and have a great rest of the week. Thank you, Ingo.